Hey, sports card fans, it's John Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. This is season 2, episode 17, in which I choose my top 5 favorite cards of a particular player. At the end of last week's video, I spun the wheel of names and it landed on Billy Williams, the longtime Chicago Cubs player. Now, if you're not familiar with Billy Williams, let me read a little bit of his background. The first line of text on Billy Williams' National Baseball Hall of Fame plaque may sum up the longtime Chicago Cubs left fielder the best. Soft-spoken, clutch performer, was one of the most respected hitters of his day. Over an 18-season big league career, 1959 to 1976, 16 spent with the Cubs, Williams had 2,711 hits, a 290 batting average, 426 home runs, hit 20 or more home runs 13 straight seasons, and once held the National League record for most consecutive games played with 1,117. Billy Williams is the best hitter day in and day out that I have ever seen, said longtime Cubs teammate Don Kessinger. He's unbelievable. He didn't hit for just 1 or 2 days or one or 2 weeks. He hit all the time. But even in his autobiography, Williams acknowledged the perception of his career, writing, "People say I'm not an exciting player. I go out there and catch the ball and hit the ball and play the game like it should be played." Hall of Famer Lou Boudreau, a one-time Cubs broadcaster, said, "If he's worried, he never shows it. It helps him mentally at the plate. I don't think he allows outside matters to affect him once that game gets underway." Williams earned 6 All-Star Games selections, the National League Rookie of the Year Award in 1961, and the Sporting News Player of the Year Award in 1972, when he led the league with a .333 batting average while also hitting 37 home runs and driving in 122 runs. The leader of the Cubs is, of all people, a quiet man of the clubhouse, Billy Williams, wrote Chicago sports columnist Bill Gleason. Billy Williams, who seldom speaks in a voice that can be heard beyond his own cubicle, who wouldn't say rah rah if Cubs owner Phil Wrightley promised him a 10,000 bonus for each rah, is the man to whom the Cubs look for leadership. He combines the dignity of Ernie Banks, the determination of Ron Santo, and the competitive fires of Randy Huntley, and he plays every day, every night. Williams was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1987. All right, so to help me narrow down the choices that I had to select my top 5 favorite Billy Williams cards, I went with the PSA Basic Top Set Registry Checklist. It's 16 cards from his 1961 rookie card to his 1976 Topps card. Now, here's where I would love all of you to participate as well. In the description of this video, I'll have a link to the PSA Basic Top Set Registry Checklist, and you can check out all 16 cards of his base Topps run. And from those 16 cards, we'll love to know in the comments which are your top 5 favorite Billy Williams cards. And if you could number them 1 through 5, 5 through 1, it'll help me compile the results for next week's video. And beyond those 16 cards, if there's some other Billy Williams cards that you really like, feel free to put them in the comments as well, and I'll have them as honorable mentions in next week's video. Now, before I get to my top 5 favorite Billy Williams cards, last week's video was on Bob Lemon, and there were a good number of you who put in the comments of that video letting me know which were your top 5 favorite cards of his. So I'm going to start off by going over the results of all of your comments from last week's video on Bob Lemon. Then I'll get into my top 5 favorite Billy Williams cards. I'll show the one Billy Williams card that I have in my collection. And of course, we'll wrap things up by spinning the wheel of names again to see which player will be selected for the next video. So let's get started. Okay, for Bob Lemon, you had 11 cards to choose from to pick your top 5 favorite. His 1949 through 55 Bowman cards, his 1952 and 56 through 58 Topps cards. All right, there were 10 of you who replied in the comments letting me know which were your top 5 favorite cards of his. Again, always appreciate the interaction in these videos. Love seeing which are your top 5 favorite cards of a particular player every week. So again, appreciate all the comments. So out of the 10 responses in the comments, which were the top 5 voted cards, leading the way, we have his 1956 and 57 Topps cards, both getting 7 selections. Then his 1952 Topps card having 6 selections. And then his 54 and 55 Bowman cards, each getting 5 selections. The only card out of the 11 that didn't get any selections was his 1950 Bowman card. Actually, that was probably number 6 on my list. It was really close for me adding it to my top 5, but for those of you who replied, none of you selected his 50 Bowman card. All right, before we see how these 5 rank and compare to mine, there were some honorable mentions provided in the comments. Leading the way, we have his 1952 Wheaties card, his 1953 Red Man, his 1954 Red Heart, his 1971 Topps card where he was the manager of the Kansas City Royals, his 1978 Topps card where he was the manager of the Chicago White Sox, and then the custom card done by when Topps had balls in the 1959 Topps design. All right, so for your top 5 selected cards, how do they rank in terms of 1 through 5 and compare to my top 5 favorite Bob Lemon cards? Well, at number 5, we both had his 1954 Bowman card. Also, at number 4, we both had his 1955 Bowman card. Here's where we start to differ a little bit. In third place, you had his 1956 Topps card, which was just outside of my top 5. At number 2, we are in agreement with his 1957 Topps card, and overall, you chose his 1952 Topps card as your favorite Bob Lemon card, and I had his 52 Topps card as my third favorite card. All right, into Billy Williams now for this week. Now again, you have 16 cards to choose from, just like I did, from 1961 through 1976 Topps. All right, at number 5, I decided to go with his 1962 Topps, and mainly it was because of the All-Star Rookie Trophy. Generally, I like those cards. It just adds a little bit extra to the design and overall look of those cards. Plus, I like the design of the wood border there in the 1962 Topps set. At number 4, I went with his 1976 Topps card. Now, I know Billy Williams is known as a Chicago Cubs player, but for some reason, now I don't own this particular card, but for whatever reason, when I think of Billy Williams, I picture 1, his rookie card, and 2, this card. I don't know if it's just because of seeing this card in the past and just the bright colors of the A's uniform and the green and yellow borders at the bottom in the 76 set design, that action photo there of him swinging. I just think the card just pops, and it just for me, again, I don't know why I always associate this Billy Williams card with Billy Williams, and again, in addition to his rookie card. But yeah, I had to include this card in my top 5, and I put it at number 4. At number 3, I went with the 64 Topps card, just like the image there. It's a posed shot, but you see the Cubs logo on his shoulder there. Generally like the relatively plain design, but just sharp design of the 64 top set with the red border there. Billy Williams in yellow. I think it's not really a color match to his uniform, but I think it offsets there with some of the red in his uniform. And again, just like that follow through swing, him sort of smiling a little bit in that pose shot. So his 64 tops is my third favorite. At number 2, I went with his 65 tops card. Now here's where it starts getting more of the image and the overall look, the color match there, the blue and the Cubs, the internal sort of red border there. Love the 65 tops design with that banner down there, the little Cubs logo. And of course you have the stadium and the crowd in the background. It is a standard posed image, but I think it's a great image of Billy Williams. So his 65 tops gets my number 2 ranking. And at number 1, I had to go with his rookie card. Just the 1961 rookie star logo up there in the top right. It's a basic posed image there. Stands in the background, although it doesn't look like there's many people in the stands, but you have that background stadium look, which I really like. And then the basic tops design of 61. Now here's a case where I really love a card from the 61 top set. 61 sort of gets beat up a little bit by having a lot of player photos without caps, maybe players that have changed teams during the year, or new team names in the case of Harmon Killebrew. Various reasons why there's a decent number of players without a cap. I just think they look a bit odd. But this card here, the Billy Williams rookie card, I think it's just a great looking card. So I had to put it as my number 1 Billy Williams card. So really looking forward to seeing what your choices are for your top 5 Billy Williams cards. So let me turn the camera around and show off the one and only Billy Williams card that I have in my collection. All right, this part of the video is going to be really quick because, as I said, I only have one Billy Williams card, and just like Ron Santo, the only card I have is a league leader card, and just happens to have both of those players on the card. It's the 1969 tops card of the 68 National League RBI leaders. I need to add more of these league leaders cards to my collection. This example here has 3 Hall of Famers. It's a relatively inexpensive way to get one or more Hall of Famers on a card, and doesn't cost as much as their individual cards. So again, this one has Willie McCovey, Ron Santo, and Billy Williams. So let's check out the league leaders in the National League for RBIs from 1968. We have Willie McCovey leading the way with 105. And then the reason why there are 3 in this card here, Ron Santo and Billy Williams both had 98 RBIs. You had Tony Perez there coming in with 92. Hank Aaron with 86, Ernie Banks 83, Johnny Bench 82, Willie Mays with 79, Orlando Cepeda there. I got Willie Stargell on the list. Roberto Clemente, only 57 RBIs there. At the top here, you got Joe Torre coming in with 55. Lou Brock with 51. Pete Rose with 49 RBIs. There's Tim McCarver. That may be Terry Francona. 47 RBIs. Roger Maris, 45. Let's see. There's Bill Mazeroski with 42. Ken Boyer, I think, maybe 41. So, yeah, just who's list of late 60s great baseball players on these cards. So not only on the front can you get possibly multiple Hall of Famers, but on the back you just get to see some baseball history if you take a look at the backs of these and just see where everyone ranked. These days, for a Hall of Famer like Willie Mays here with 79 RBIs, it would be considered, somewhat of an off year with a player of Mays' stature, even though he was, later on in his career, but still finished maybe just outside the top 10, but still a great look at some of the stats for some of these Hall of Famers in these league leaders cards. All right, so with this, let's get to the Wheel of Names and give it a spin to see which player it selects. All right, as you can see, we are down to 23 names on the Wheel of Names, so let's give it a spin. And the player for next week's video is going to be Ted Simmons. All right, I do have a few Ted Simmons cards. Again, one of those players that just seems to fall under the radar in terms of interest in the hobby or hobby relevance, but was definitely a great catcher. And so look forward to looking through his cards and selecting my top 5 favorites. So as a final reminder, in the comments, would love to know which are your top 5 favorite Billy Williams cards. And with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.